Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's keeping enterprise leaders up at night across Europe, the EU AI Act, and how ready or not ready organizations actually are for 2026. Sam, we've got a lot to unpack here, so let's start with the headline. Why should enterprises care about this right now?
Great question, Alex. The stakes are genuinely high. We're not talking about some distant regulatory horizon. Enforcement is already ramping up through 2024 and 2026. The real kicker? According to recent research, 2/3 of European enterprises don't have adequate AI governance frameworks in place. That's a massive vulnerability.
2/3. That's staggering. So these aren't niche companies either, right? We're talking about major enterprises that have already deployed AI systems, maybe even customer-facing ones.
Exactly. And that's where the risk becomes real. Think about companies running AI chatbots, customer support automation, or lead generation tools. These fall squarely into the high-risk or transparency-intensive categories under the EU AI Act. One survey found that nearly 2/3 of organizations with customer-facing AI systems don't even have documented risk assessment protocols. That's a compliance gap waiting to happen.
So they've deployed the tech, but they haven't done the governance homework. That's a problem. But here's what I'm curious about. Is this a compliance burden that slows everything down, or can enterprises actually use governance frameworks as a competitive advantage?
This is the mindset shift that matters. Organizations treating the AI Act as just a box to tick will suffer. Slower deployment, operational friction, constant firefighting. But enterprises that see governance as a business enabler, they actually move faster. Better documentation means faster audits. Clearer risk protocols mean better decision-making. It's not that different from how companies that embrace security best practices often outcompete their sloppy competitors.
That's a crucial distinction. Let's talk about what readiness actually means. If I'm sitting in a boardroom at a mid-sized European firm right now, what should I be looking for? What does governance maturity actually look like?
Good question. Think of it in 5 levels. At the bottom, you've got ad hoc governance. Basically, no formal structure, systems deployed reactively. That's genuinely dangerous territory. Then you move to defined. Some basic policies exist, but they're inconsistent, partially documented. That's where a lot of companies sit, and it's not good enough.
So where do enterprises actually need to be to hit the compliance bar?
Level 3, managed governance. You need documented processes, consistent risk assessment, audit-ready systems. This is where you meet the baseline requirements of the EU AI Act. But here's what that actually requires. You need dedicated roles like an AI ethics officer or risk coordinator. You need training programs. You need to inventory all your AI systems and classify them by risk.
Okay, so level 3 gets you compliant. But then you've got level 4 and 5. Talk us through what those look like and why an enterprise would care.
Level 4 is optimized governance. Now you're not just meeting requirements, you're proactive. Continuous monitoring, automated compliance checks, cross-functional governance committees. You're operating at enterprise security standards. And level 5? That's where governance becomes your competitive moat. You're publishing AI principles, you're attracting talent that cares about ethics, you're winning contracts with risk-conscious customers.
So there's a real difference between compliant and leading. Now, a lot of companies are asking, how do I get there? Do I need to hire a full-time chief AI officer and build an entire compliance department? Tiens.
That's where fractional consultancy models become really valuable. Not every enterprise, especially mid-market ones, needs a full-time, expensive AI governance specialist, but they absolutely need expert guidance to translate regulation into action. Fractional consultants can help you conduct governance maturity assessments, build your frameworks, set up your risk protocols, and train your teams.
That makes sense. You get expert support without the permanent overhead. But I want to dig into something concrete. What does a governance maturity assessment actually involve? Walk us through it.
Sure. First, you audit everything. What AI systems do you actually have? Where are they deployed? Who built them? What data do they use? A lot of enterprises discover they don't even have a complete inventory. Then you classify those systems by risk level, transparency requirements, human oversight needs, restrictions. You assess your current processes against the AI Act requirements. Do you have data governance, bias mitigation, audit trails? Where are the gaps?
So it's like a health check. You're finding out what's broken before the regulators do.
Exactly. And then you prioritize. High-risk systems come first. Customer-facing AI is urgent. After that, you build your remediation roadmap. Here's what we fix in 90 days, 6 months, 12 months. You establish governance roles, create documentation templates, set up compliance monitoring. The whole process compresses what could be chaos into a structured timeline.
Realistic question, though. How much time and money are we talking about for a mid-sized enterprise to get to level 3?
It varies based on complexity and your starting point, but realistically, a meaningful governance maturity assessment and roadmap typically takes 3 to 6 months of fractional support, and it's far cheaper than dealing with compliance violations, regulatory fines, or having to retrofit governance after the fact. Think of it as insurance, expensive to get right now, catastrophic if you don't.
Fair point. Let's talk about something more specific that's tripping up a lot of companies. High-risk AI systems like chatbots. What are the transparency and documentation requirements there?
This is crucial because chatbots and customer support automation are everywhere. Under the EU AI Act, these fall into high-risk or transparency categories. That means you need to disclose to users that they're interacting with AI. You need documented risk assessments showing you've thought through bias, error rates, and fairness. You need human oversight workflows for edge cases. You need data governance proving your training data complies with regulations. And you need comprehensive audit trails.
That sounds like a lot, but when you list it out like that, it actually seems manageable.
It is manageable, if you plan for it. The problem is companies that deployed chatbots 6 months ago without these controls in place. Now they're scrambling. That's when fractional consultancy becomes invaluable. You can bring in experts to retrofit governance, build the documentation, establish the processes. You don't have to start from scratch every time.
So if I'm listening right now and I'm responsible for AI or compliance at a European enterprise, what's the one thing I should do this week?
Conduct an inventory. List every AI system you have, where it's deployed, and what it does. Be brutally honest about gaps in your documentation and governance. Then get expert eyes on it, either internal if you have the capacity, or bring in fractional consultancy to assess your maturity level. You don't need all the answers yet, you just need clarity on where you stand.
That's actionable advice. And look, the EU AI Act isn't going away. Enforcement is real, the penalties are real, and 2026 is closer than it feels. Sam, thanks for breaking this down with such clarity.
Pleasure, Alex. The enterprises that move now, that treat governance as strategic, they're going to be the winners in this new regulatory landscape. Everyone else will be playing catch-up.
Exactly. For listeners who want to dig deeper into governance maturity frameworks, fractional consultancy models, and a detailed compliance roadmap, head over to etherlink.ai and find the full article on EU AI Act Readiness. We'll have links in the show notes too. Until next time, this is EtherLink AI Insights. Thanks for listening, and stay ahead of the curve.